Boom, and welcome to another video of the Flowing Dutchman. Now in this video I'd like to talk about the first time I swung a Gada. Original Gada from Hanuman has been interpreted by different styles in both martial arts and wrestling and strength training. Lord Hanuman uses in the ancient written books, and there's the Gada that is used by Kaleri Paitu. So those are some of the rare videos where you actually see me struggle with a certain weight. I think the first one in this video was around 12 kilos. Before I really get into my first time of swinging a Gada, I want to make sure that you understand what I mean when I talk about a Gada. And this is for people that do not have that much knowledge about this subject. It is very confusing. For me, it was always very easy to make the distinction between a mace and a Gada. But as time progressed and I've reached more Indians than I did when I first started, it became a bit murky, and it has become a bit murky. For the international swinging community, which started in the West as an inspiration by the Gada found in Varanasi, and this is something that's very interesting and also very important within the subject. This mace, for example, the wood and the iron, this is a product of the original inspiration. Jake Shannon, who's from the USA, learned from Karl Koch, who learned from the great Gama, how to swing a Gada. Now the way that he made this Macebell, that's what he called it, was a steel version. And it's important to understand that this is not something that is to be found in India. A steel version of a Gada is not something that was done. But there are multiple versions of a Gada. So without going too far in the subject of what a mace is, let's focus specifically on the Gada. So Gada comes from the tool that Lord Hanuman uses in the ancient written books. Mahabharata, I think it is called. I haven't actually read it yet, but I will at some point. When we're talking about a Gada, there are multiple ways that original Gada from Hanuman has been interpreted by different styles in both martial arts and wrestling and strength training. So there's a Gada that has been given after a competition to wrestlers, which is usually silver, very iconic looking Gada, also the one that you see the great Gama with. And there's the Gada that is used by Kaleri Paitu, which looks quite similarly actually to the Gada that is used by Lord Hanuman. So in some states, a mugdar, so a giant club, is also called a Gada. In Varanasi, you have the big clubs, the joris. Now these joris, I believe that the Gada that was made there in Varanasi was inspired by the joris, because a lot of the techniques that they use for the Gada there, because of its length, is similar to the jori. The jori is also very large. It's at least 1 meter long. So that Gada with a bamboo handle and a river stone, like it's from the river Ganga. So that's why it originated in that area. So this Gada from Varanasi is iconic. In this video I will specifically talk about that Gada, okay? So not all the other ones, this one. That is the first time I swung a Gada on which the actual mace was inspired. So talking about that first time I swung the Gada, we just hit Varanasi after a long drive from Nepal. I was there for a month, and then for 2 months we went to India. We bought a motorcycle there, Royal Enfield, in Varanasi. And we asked one of my tuk-tuk drivers. The tuk-tuk driver brought us to this amazing akhara. I can't remember the name, but it's an akhara I've been to many times, even last year. There was a wonderful guru there who showed me those Gadas, and I had been swinging maces before, up to 8 kilos. With that experience of a mace, it's very different than swinging a Gada, because a Gada, like this wooden handle, right, has a lot more weight actually in the top. A steel version has more weight in the handle, which makes different movements possible, different techniques. Now, when the length is also more, so you have a small bamboo handle and then a very big stone at the end. I think the first one in this video was around 12 kilos. And the way you see me swing was doing a 360. Now, interestingly enough, as the video progresses, the guy says, I think, no, you're doing it wrong, because in Varanasi, they only do one technique with the mace. It's very important to understand this. They only swing from shoulder to shoulder. This is what we call the 10-2 or 300. I prefer the 300 because of the angle of the mace is actually not 240 degrees. However, they immediately said to me, you got to do this technique. And I wasn't experienced with that technique. So he taught me a bit about how to actually pick up a mace and get it into the shoulder position, and then how to swing from side to side. But as you can see in the video, I do not get it right. Especially with that 12 kilos, it was a bit too much. So those are some of the rare videos where you actually see me struggle with a certain weight, because quickly after that I adapted with this technique and that made it easier. So that was the first time, the first moment, the first video that I actually swung a Gada. So not the first time I learned the technique, right? I had already learned this technique online through many coaches. Had some great mentors in the like Rick Brown, Leo Savage, Paul Taras-Volkowinski. There was some content on YouTube that you could actually learn this with, and I mainly learned through actually being exposed to teaching it to others. Like I have found throughout these years that I learn the most when I teach. So the fact that I immediately started to implement it with my group training sessions at Dutch Flow Academy made it easier for me to learn this practice. Now this eventually culminated into Dutch Flow Academy, and the way we have set it up now is that we make a difference between mace flow, techniques usually done with a mace of about 105 centimeters, either of steel or wood or iron, or at least if it's not bamboo, you can do most of the movements with it. But the weight is less, so about 4 to 8 kilos. And then we also have the Gada, the Mace Gada, which is more geared towards a technique that you can use with longer handles, a different weight distribution, and usually a heavier weight. So these techniques are more inspired by the way they do it in Varanasi, but not completely the same. It's a bit more elaborate because, once again, in Varanasi they only really teach one movement. If you want to learn more about those courses, about the Mace, the Gada, the Mace Flow, check out dutchflowacademy.com. Got some beautiful courses there, professionally made by this cameraman over here. Check them out because I'm really, really proud of that, that process and the progress. Hope you enjoyed that video. Maybe you learned something about my journey, about some of the history or different tools. And if you want to learn more, I've got more videos on my YouTube channel, so check those out as well. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Leave a like, a comment, share, all the good stuff. Boom, the Maester has set out a completely new path towards mastery of the Gada or Mace. During 6 weeks, you'll go through an intensive training cycle which will increase your skill progressively. In the first week, you'll learn about the fundamental 300 and the 360. In the second week, you'll learn how to use your legs with the 300 and 360. In the third week, you'll learn about planes and directions. And in the fourth week, you're going to spice it up by using pivots. In the fifth week, we'll open up the world of the shoulders. And then in the last week, the sixth week, we're going to open up the world of single arm swings. And in the seventh week, the Maester said, it was good. And you may now realize that you have mastered the art of swinging the Gada Mace. Are you ready to take the path of the Maester? Join now at dutchflowacademy.com. thank you for your attention. It's greatly appreciated. If you like the content, please consider to share, like, and subscribe to my channel. If you want to see similar videos, you can see them over here. If you're interested in learning more from me as a coach, I've got online courses on DutchFlowAcademy.com. Keep flowing. Ram Ram.